Hello and welcome to YNWA Transfer News, your ultimate source for all Liverpool FC transfer news. Our first news is this. Liverpool faces Michael Olise transfer setback as Bayern Munich makes decisive move. Bayern Munich is reportedly mulling over handing star performer Michael Olise a new contract with improved terms. Before the campaign concludes amid reported transfer interest from Liverpool, the French winger remains contracted, worth Bayern until 2029, yet German reports suggest discussions are underway regarding the player's long-term future in Munich. The Bundesliga sensation, who has already attracted interest from Liverpool, is yet to enter extension negotiations, though Munich's hierarchy are reportedly focused on safeguarding their asset for an extended period. According to Bild, Bayern secured Olise from Crystal Palace for approximately $70 million, $52 million, and he has kicked on impressively since then. Olise has previously been touted as a potential heir to Mohamed Salah at Anfield, with claims the Reds were contemplating a summer approach. The winger excelled during his maiden campaign at the Allianz Arena and claimed the Bundesliga's Rookie of the Year award following an impressive tally of 20 goals and 23 assists throughout a triumphant 2024-25 season. Sporting director Christoph Freund has expressed satisfaction with the player's development, stating, "Michael feels extremely comfortable in the group. It's just a good mix at the moment. We deliberately wanted to be a bit smaller. Of course, we've said several times that if Fonzie, Davies, Edeni, Jamal, Musiala, and Hiroki, Ito come back, then he'll be bigger again in terms of depth. But the quality is very, very high, and we still have good competition." Meanwhile, Lothar Matthaus believes the star can scale even loftier peaks. "He has everything an outstanding footballer needs. I see no limits for him," he shared with Sport Bild. And the example of Ousmane Dembélé shows that a winger can become a world-class footballer. It always depends on the team's success, especially in the Champions League. But yes, I trust Olise to do it. Real Madrid has also been linked with a move for the French international, who has also been lauded by Bayern legend Karl-Heinz Rummenigge. The attackers are the salt in the soup, as we say, especially the wingers like Ribery, Robben, and now Olise, and the center forwards. Even Luca Toni, he wasn't really convinced about coming to Bayern. Liverpool inability on show again versus Southampton as UK media reacts to cup win. It was a story of three forwards for Liverpool in the Carabao Cup as it defeated Southampton 2-1 on Tuesday evening through strikes from Alexander Isak and Hugo Ekitike. Both goals were served up on a silver platter by Federico Chiesa. It proved another evening of late theatrics for the Reds at Anfield, this time securing a winner in the dying moments via Ekitike, whose simple finish materialized after exquisite control from Chiesa to present his teammate with the opportunity to decide the contest. Ekitike was immediately dismissed for removing his shirt in celebration whilst already carrying a yellow card, having taken Isak's place for the second period after the striker had broken his duck in the 43rd minute. Here is what the national media made of the encounter. Paul Joyce, The Times. "It was always going to require something remarkable to wrestle the spotlight away from Alexander Isak's first Liverpool goal. Hugo Ekitike duly obliged, though not in the manner he would have hoped. The French striker had replaced Isak at the interval and maintained Liverpool's slew of late winners this season to see off a plucky Southampton side. Yet having already been booked for punching the ball away, the forward's decision to whip off his shirt in celebration in the 86th minute meant the referee, Thomas Bramall, brought his night to a premature and farcical close with a red card. To say Arne Slot looked less than impressed would be an understatement. The forward will miss the next game against Crystal Palace on Saturday. Progress to the Carabao Cup fourth round was still achieved, but until then, the focus was drawn to Isak, and no one can dispute he is not prepared to put in the hard yards in order to be a success." Rich Jolly, The Independent. And to think some worried Hugo Ekitike would be overshadowed by Alexander Isak at Anfield. On the night the striker opened his account for his new club, Ekitike contrived to upstage his striking rival, extending Liverpool's extraordinary record of late deciders and yet drawing cutting criticism from his manager. For the 6th time in 7 games, Liverpool won late on. For the 4th time after it had lost a lead. And yet this drama at the death against Southampton took on a novel twist as Ekitike tapped in a center from the excellent Federico Chiesa and promptly brought his own contribution to an end. Already booked for punching the ball away in a display of dissent, he collected a second yellow card for taking his shirt off in celebration. The Frenchman has made a fine impression in his brief Liverpool career, but this, as Arne Slot was swift to say, was sheer stupidity. With his watching brief in the second half, the Swede had further evidence of Liverpool's ability to make life difficult for themselves. The winning habit remains, but so too does an inability to look completely convincing. Slot was critical. "I was happy with a few performances, but far from happy with a few others," he said. "The guilty will know who they are." Dominic King, Daily Mail. "It was a cup night, so did you expect anything other than surprises? Nothing ever goes to plan at Anfield on occasions such as these, and so, again it was true. There was a surprise for Alexander Isak, who found himself being ordered to do more running at half-time when he thought the sanctuary of the changing room beckoned. There was a surprise for Will Still, who saw his Southampton team leave its patchy form well behind. But the biggest shock was reserved for Arne Slot, who watched in disbelief as Hugo Ekitike saved the day in one moment then, in the next, presented his manager with an unnecessary headache from 2 actions that even his teammates regarded as preposterous. You have to go some to get criticism after plundering a late winner, but for Ekitike to put a blemish on all his early outstanding work with 2 wholly avoidable bookings and earn himself a suspension for Saturday's trip to Crystal Palace left Slot dumbfounded. Tennis legend Boris Becker reveals how Jurgen Klopp tried to visit him in prison. Legendary former tennis player Boris Becker faced serious legal troubles after ending his professional career. In his book Inside, the German recalls that period of his life when he had to serve time behind bars. As is well known, Becker spent 8 months in British prisons Wandsworth and Huntercombe. The former athlete was sentenced to 2.5 years for concealing assets from creditors. During this difficult chapter, he received support from family, close friends, and among them was Jurgen Klopp. The former Liverpool manager even wanted to visit Boris in prison, but the British prison service denied him permission twice. The reason for the refusal was concern about potentially excessive publicity. Becker admitted that despite not being able to meet in person, Klopp continued to support him, regularly keeping in touch over the phone. To recall, Boris Becker was sentenced to prison in April 2022. The reason was the German's financial misconduct, illegally transferring large sums to third-party accounts and hiding assets after being officially declared bankrupt. Liverpool suffer. Huge setback in bid to land Mohamed Salah's successor. Liverpool have been dealt a huge blow in their hopes of signing a star player that has been named as the perfect replacement for Mohamed Salah. After months of dramatic reports surrounding Salah's contract negotiations, the Liverpool star penned a new deal with the club in April, putting to bed rumors he could leave in the summer. The Egypt forward's previous deal was scheduled to run out in the summer, but his new deal will see him remain at Anfield for a further 2 years, until the summer of 2027. However, given the fact that Salah is now 33 years old, Liverpool will no doubt be preparing themselves for life without their talisman, but it appears that the club may have been dealt a huge blow in their rumored transfer plans, as a player tupped to be the ideal Salah replacement may be more difficult to sign than previously believed. There are very few players across football that will be able to live up to the unbelievably high standards that Salah has set. During his 8 years at Liverpool, across 408 appearances for the Reds, Salah has scored an incredible 248 goals while assisting 116, numbers that will be nearly impossible to replicate. One player that has been suggested could potentially step up to the task is Bayern Munich star Michael Olise, who has shown just how talented he is since his move to join the German Giants from Crystal Palace in July 2024. Since his arrival at the Allianz Arena, Olise has scored 26 goals and assisted 24 in 62 appearances, making him one of the current standout players in Europe. Under his current deal, The France international will remain at Bayern Munich until 2029, but rumors have suggested that the contract includes a release clause that will be valid in the summer of 2026. But now, a report from German outlet Sportbild has revealed that it is very possible that Bayern Munich will enter into discussions for a contract extension before the season ends. It states that, although discussions with Olise's team are not yet underway, the club are very happy with his performances since his arrival. Michael feels extremely comfortable in the group. "It's just a good mix at the moment," said sporting director Christoph Freund. Meanwhile, speaking to Sportbild, German legend Lothar Matthaus said, "He has everything an outstanding footballer needs. I see no limits for him. And the example of Ousmane Dembélé shows that a winger can become a world-class footballer." Liverpool could use UEFA loophole to add player to Champions League squad. Liverpool could potentially make a late change to their Champions League squad due to a new UEFA rule brought in only weeks ago. Liverpool kicked off their European campaign with a dramatic 3-2 win over Atletico Madrid at Anfield on Wednesday night. They then beat Everton 2-1 in the Merseyside derby on Saturday before following that up with another late winner in Tuesday's 2-1 victory over Southampton in the Carabao Cup, while it was another positive result for Arne Slot's side in midweek. Not everything went to plan for the Dutchman. Hugo Ekitike was sent off for what his head coach described as a stupid decision to remove his shirt after scoring against the Saints, while young defender Giovanni Leoni suffered what appeared to be a serious injury on debut for the club. Leoni, who joined Liverpool in a 26-meter move from Parma this summer, fell awkwardly after challenging for the ball near the touchline and was taken off on a stretcher. Speaking after the match, Slot said he was unsure about the severity of Leoni's injury. "He's down because for him it didn't feel good immediately," said Slot. "But this is something now we have to assess, and normally these things don't happen in 5 to 10 minutes. You have to wait until tomorrow to see how he comes in, and then maybe do an MRI scan to know more." Leoni's injury could potentially open the door for another player to be included in Liverpool's Champions League squad due to a UEFA rule loophole, with the Reds next due to face Galatasaray in Istanbul on Tuesday. A recent change to UEFA's regulations means Liverpool might be able to replace Leoni in their 22-man squad if the Italian has suffered a long-term injury. UEFA's ruling executive committee announced earlier this month it had approved an amendment to squad regulations for the Champions League, Europa League, and Conference League this season. The clubs are now allowed the temporary replacement of one outfield player with a long-term injury or illness up until the 6th competition match day in December. An injury or illness is considered long-term by UEFA if it lasts at least 60 days as of the day the injury or illness occurred. Even if players recover before this 60-day deadline, they are not allowed to retake their place in the squad if they have been replaced by a teammate. Chelsea have already made use of the rule, bringing Facundo Buonanotte in for the injured Dario Isugo, while Nottingham Forest have done similar, replacing Ola Aina with Oleksandr Zinchenko. While it remains to be seen how severe Leoni's injury is, Slot will be considering his options as he awaits the full report from Liverpool's medical team. Who could replace Giovanni Leoni? The most notable omission from Liverpool's Champions League squad when it was announced earlier this month was Leoni's compatriot Federico Chiesa. The Italy international wasn't included after struggling for minutes under Slot. However, he impressed in Tuesday's win over Southampton, providing 2 assists, with fans now calling for him to be named in the Champions League squad. "I'm sorry, but Chiesa not being in the Champions League squad is genuinely a crime," joked one fan on X. Another added, "It's a disgrace Federico Chiesa isn't included in the Champions League squad." Chiesa was initially left out as Liverpool were only allowed a maximum of 17 non-homegrown players in their squad. However, the potential removal of Leoni could now open the door for the Italian. However, Slot may prefer to bring in a direct replacement for Leoni, with centre-back Reece Williams the most obvious candidate. Thank you for watching. Like and comment, subscribe.